Darren and Lauren, how special and different is your little one?
Malachi is 18 months old. He was born with Down syndrome. And it's something we knew nothing about other than, you know, Down syndrome is the most physically recognizable mental disability worldwide. So you see somebody with Down syndrome and everybody knows it. But other than that, we knew nothing about it. So when Malachi was born, it was a shock. We were very sad for a few days, and then we decided to start learning as much as we could. And a lot through the international communities, but the local communities as well. We learned so much about Down syndrome and that it isn't as bad as you think it is. Malachi will also be able to do everything his friends can do, everything his peers can do, just a little slower.
How did you? When did you find out that he's got you know, Downs?
In the operating theatre at the Caesar. So we didn't know. A lot of people know beforehand. We didn't know until he was born. The paediatrician called my husband aside and told him. It
was not picked up during your pregnancy at all.
They had when they did the tests for it. It was quite a high risk in the beginning, and then the doctor, well, he actually called us and said, you know, there was 800 to 1 chance of him having Down syndrome. So he did more tests, and then it actually came back that it got better for us. It was like
over 1,000.
Over 1,000. So we weren't worried at all. But then when he was born, the paediatrician says, well, you know, like all the physical signs you get, like the one line in the hand and the shorter fingers and the eyes. And
how long did it take you to just go through, embrace, you know, that process of, I've got a child, I've got this special child that will need my love, need my attention, and I've got to face the world. How long did it take for you, Annabelle, to face the world?
Initially, I wanted to, because of course there were physical attributes that I felt I want to protect my child. I don't want people to laugh at her. I don't want people to stare and ask questions and make her uncomfortable. And there's a whole range of emotions that you go through, and I think you have to, as a parent, you have to work through those emotions. Like you were saying, there's fear. You don't understand the situation. You've got to equip yourself with knowledge so that you know, look, this is not the end of the world. It took a while because I had to go through the whole fear, the denial, the anger. Why my child? What did I do wrong?
Did you blame yourself?
I did blame myself. I said, look, maybe is there something that I did? Maybe some perceived evil thing that I did that I'm being punished for, but why my child? Why not me? And eventually you go through a process of you accept it. And when you start accepting it, you're equipped with the emotions to deal with the situation that you have. And that's when you start learning and you start coping, and even for the people around you, you know, even for the child, to teach them to cope with their condition. I have a son as well, you know, to help him to be involved and see that, you know, this is not like some horrible sentence that's been given to your sister. We're a family. It's a blessing. I also feel that Vanessa is a blessing. And I think that's one of the interesting things. At first you're like, but then you embrace the child and it's actually a blessing. If it were to happen again, the only thing that I'd like to be different, obviously because Vanessa is sick. She's sick. She's physically sick. I wouldn't want that to be the case, but I would want the same child back.
Apparently, men dread baby talk. So we spoke to a speech therapist, Maggie Tule, about baby talk and if there is any benefit to doing it.
Can you say it? I don't know. You do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't.
Children are listening from when they're born. And in fact, research has now shown that children are listening while they're still in the womb as well. So talking to your child, even whilst you're pregnant, has beneficial implications for your child. They get used to your voice, first and foremost. So by the time they're born, they find your voice the most soothing of sounds around that they will be hearing once they're born. So it's very beneficial to talk to your child right from the beginning. I think it's very important to use real words because that is the language that we expect from our children. So we need to very early on be conscious of teaching them all the time when we talking to them. So if you use real words, then the child knows that that is the words that, and as they start talking, that they would be using. Speech begins to develop from the listening side of communication. So from early on, as young as about 4 or 5 months, children are listening to speech, and that's why we have to use real words when we're talking to them, because they are listening. But for them to express themselves and to say words, that begins around probably 10 months to about a year, that they start to say real words, that we can identify them as words. If your child is a year to about 18 months, and they haven't said any word that you can identify it as a real word, they haven't started naming the people around, the things that they interact with, their food, their bottle, if they're taking a bottle, you should be worried at about 18 months. It's not detrimental to a child to be exposed to 2 languages. The child very early on learn to identify a language with a person. So if it's an English Afrikaans home, the children will know that this adult is Afrikaans and this adult is English. And they will be able to separate those languages and learn them simultaneously but separately as well. So it's not detrimental to a child to expose them to more than 1 language. I think you always introduce an additional language when the child is already familiar with the first. So if English is not the language that's spoken in the house, then it should be introduced when the child already has a solid first language. If it's introduced at the beginning as a language that's spoken in the home, the child will learn it like any other language. But if it's an additional language, then it should be introduced only when the child is fluent with their first language.
To get strong, because it's healthy for me.
As parents, we often don't get a lot of time to spend with our families. So today, get your children off the couch and spend quality time with them in the one place everyone loves, the kitchen. The kitchen is a wonderful place in which happy family memories can happen.
Nutrition is very important. It's one of the biggest things of the Little Cooks Club that we try and highlight is nutrition. It's about healthy eating habits for children, so that they would come in, they would make something healthy. So we work on 2 weeks something healthy and then 1 week something naughty, because you do have to have fun while you're doing it as well. So, and our healthy is we always incorporate vegetables, fruits, so the children start, if they make it themselves, they really enjoy eating it. I started the Little Cooks Club because firstly my children love to cook, I love to cook, and I knew it would be really, really fun. It's educational for children, it teaches them to eat healthy. They enjoy eating healthier things when they make it themselves. What's really nice about this is I get to stay at home with my children as well while I do this. Hey guys, did you enjoy making that pasta? Okay, while it's in the pot cooking, we are going to do our tomato, basil and feta cheese salad that we're going to toss into it. So I'm going to bring you guys some sharp knives, but they're really sharp, so you need to be really careful while you cut, okay? And we're going to just take our tomatoes, and we're just going to cut them in half and put them inside our little bowls here. All right.
Kenny, now we're sitting around the table. What is your take on eating with the family? What do you think of that?
Well, look, I'm big on table manners. We were raised old school, and that's what I try to instill in my daughters. I don't like them eating in front of the TV. I think kids don't have an idea of what they're consuming when they sit in front of the TV because you're distracted by another activity. Whereas if you're engaged in, say, focused on having a meal, you actually get a better idea of what you're eating and how much you're eating. So, from a nutrition point of view, I think that's important, but also for family bonding. I mean, we've had, growing up, so many good conversations around the table. So, I like to get that culture going with my kids as well. And I mean, it's always nice when you have visitors around, so that if the kids are part of the conversation, it's much better than, you know, having the kids on one side and then the adults on the other side. I like to get the kids involved as much as possible. So yeah, I'm big on that. Well, I mean, George, your wife is quite the chef, and, you know, I'm sure you get lots of treats and eats and biscuits and cakes. How does it work with the kids, though? Because, you know, you're trying to have discipline, but at the same time, when they do well, you obviously treat them. So how do you strike that balance?
Treats in our house, not necessarily sweets. Not that they don't eat them. Of course they do. They go to parties, and when we have parties, they like to have a little sweet here and there. But we try to keep it as healthy as possible. Of course, when they do something good, we definitely reward them, whether it's cupcakes or whether it's a little chocolate or something, by all means. But it's more we don't do it often. We try even with their drinks. They don't touch fizzy drinks out of choice. It's what we raise them. They love their water. If and when we do go out and there's a dessert, by all means they're more than welcome to have that. But that's as far as it goes. We definitely try not to encourage eating of sweets in our house.
Well, George, it's been an interesting afternoon. Our kids didn't do too badly, and the food was quite nice as well. Thanks for having us over.
No, okay, it was great. It went well. We got such a nice free lunch.
Wow, don't underestimate the ability of your little ones. Those meals look delicious. Please join us for the next week's important episode as we focus on the safety in the home.